Welcome to Know It's Radio, where we dive deep into the uncharted waters of technology.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Express show on No Hits Radio. I'm your host, Cynthia Kemuma, and today we will be focusing on businesses and how they can guard themselves against cyber threats. Now, cybercrime is on the rise everywhere. Did you know that last year alone we had over 131 million web-based attacks in Africa alone? Or that nearly 1 in 3 breaches globally started with someone clicking phishing email? It's serious stuff. Don't worry, we are here to break it down in plain language and help you stay safe. And joining me for this conversation is Allan Juma, cybersecurity engineer from ESET. Welcome, Allan.
Thank you, Cynthia.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. And you?
I'm also doing fantastic.
Looking lovely.
Thank you. Oh, that's the first comment I've ever received in the show.
Really?
Yes. So, who's Allan?
So, Allan Juma, I work at a company called ESET. ESET is a cybersecurity company, mainly dealing with endpoint security. Endpoint security basically means protecting your laptops, your servers, your mobile devices. So ESET is in Africa, East and Southern Africa. Yeah, so that is a little bit about Allan.
Yes. So ESET is East and South Africa?
East, yes, yeah. ESET, East and Southern Africa, yes.
Oh, so ESET is just an abbreviation?
No. ESET actually, so the company is Slovakian. It's a Slovakian company, but it has presence all over the world, including Africa. ESET basically is the goddess of protection, the Greek goddess of protection. So the ones who founded the company in 1987, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so they named it the goddess of protection. They started with a product called Note 32. For the OGs, the ones who are in campus in the early 2000s and went to Alikunywa Maziwa Nyayo, they understand Note 32 because that's what most people are using in campus. Then after that, they graduated and started now ESET, the endpoint security product.
You've told us who's Allan Juma in ESET.
Yes.
But you've not told us who's Allan Juma himself.
Okay, so Allan Juma, I am a father. I am a husband. I have, I'm not kidding. In the next 15, 17 years, my daughter will be Miss Kenya. She's the most lovely, beautiful thing that ever walked this earth. And
Amen.
So yeah, I'm a father, I'm a husband. I'm also what you call a born-again Christian. Basically, I believe that Christ died for my sins and he saved me. Yes, so that is a bit about Allan. What do I do for fun? I like going for hikes, organizing trips. I also love a bit of acting here and there. Yeah, and watching movies occasionally and spending time with my family. That is me.
At least you have fun thing. You know, people in the tech sector, whenever I ask them, what do you do for fun? We have a lot of familiarity with people who go for hikes and reading, but at least you watch movies.
Yeah,
that's actually good.
Yeah.
So I want us to get into our conversation for today, and the topic for the conversation for today is zero trust in a hacked world. Cybersecurity has become a very hot topic recently. Why do you believe, particularly for businesses why do you believe that cybersecurity is a hot topic right now for businesses?
Well, it's a hot topic because, number one, it affects almost every aspect of our lives, especially the business area. Because as businesses try to digitize and transform digitally, go online, adopt some of these technologies, they expose themselves to threats all over the world. And gone are the days whereby you'd say threats will only come from a specific area. Nowadays, because the world is basically a global village, attacks will come from everywhere and anywhere. With the proliferation of also internet connectivity in Africa and Kenya, I mean, it's becoming a pertinent threat because people are losing money, people are losing their reputation, lives are being wrecked, and businesses are actually crumbling to a halt because of cybersecurity. So that's why it is not just a buzzword, it is part and parcel of how you do business in this day and age.
Have you been attacked on personal level and on business level?
There's an organization I used to work for whereby we had a case of ransomware. I'm not sure the organization, but we had a case of ransomware. Luckily, back then I was the IT security analyst. I was able to contain it just one machine, and we survived. We didn't pay any ransom. So have I been attacked? Yes. At a personal level, not yet. Why do I say not yet? Because it's only a matter of time. Because I mean, I'm sure there's somebody who is searching my profile, looking at me. How can I get these guys' details? Yep.
When I started my intro, I said that we will be defining to people what what cybersecurity is all about in simpler language.
Okay.
You've mentioned a term, ransomware.
Okay.
For context, those people who don't know what ransomware is, clarify what ransomware is.
Okay, so before I get to ransomware, let me talk about cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity? Basically, cybersecurity is the practice, methodology of protecting your assets from cyber attacks. In layman terms, kwa estate, we are watchmen. We make sure that everybody who gains access is somebody who is known and they're not going to do any nefarious activities. Even when they leave, we search them. So basically, in layman terms, cybersecurity has been a watchman of any digital asset. What is ransomware? Ransomware is one of the most prevalent and successful attack. So it's a combination of two words, ransom and ware. Ware is software. So this is a software that will run on your machine. What does it do? Now, that's where the ransom comes into play. So it is a software when it is run on your machine. Let me say it is usually used for malicious purposes. When it runs on your machine, it will take your data captive. It will hold your data at ransom until you pay a certain amount of money. Basically, you won't be able to access any file. You won't be able to do any application. Your machine will be, for lack of a better term, useless until you pay a certain amount of money. And you don't pay it in Kenya shillings. You don't pay it in US dollars. The preferred method of payment is what you call cryptocurrency. Why? Because it is untraceable and it is almost anonymous.
How does this thing happen?
How does it happen? The most common way of ransomware getting on any machine is via what you had mentioned earlier on, what is called phishing. So what is phishing? Phishing is somebody pretending to be a trusted or a legitimate entity, and they try to entice you as the unsuspecting user to click on a link or download a file or download an attachment that will inadvertently download ransomware on your machine and then encrypt your machine. So one of the ways that ransomware gets into organizations is through phishing emails. Of course, you have the outliers whereby maybe somebody will come USB and plug it in, but in this day and age, those cases have really gone down. The most sure and the most successful way is via phishing. So it may be email phishing, it might be social media phishing, but basically somebody impersonating a trusted entity, getting you to click on a link and download something malicious.
You've said the USP thing nowadays, it doesn't really, it's not that much. But you are at the Africa CISO Summit 2025, the one held by CI Africa. There was an organization, I don't really remember its name. I think it's SM
SAM, yes. I know, SAM.
They were using a cable on how you can be able to hack into someone's laptop, phone.
But you see, that was
just a cable.
That was a quote unquote charging cable. So it's not your normal charging cable. It's a cable that once you plug it in, it would actually take over your machine and introduce things. So normally we rarely use USBs in the corporate environment. I mean, we have people have grown from that, but I'm not saying it is not it is impossible. The cases have actually gone down, but it is very, very prevalent, but not to the levels it were like maybe 5 years ago. Remember, there are the days where USBs were everything. I used to go to download movie places, download for me this entire series USB. But nowadays with Netflix, with Showmax, I mean, it's those businesses unfortunately are suffering the consequences of technological advancement. They're going down. Yeah.
So do you believe in zero trust?
Yeah, I believe it can be achieved. Yes.
You have to explain that.
Okay.
Personally, I don't believe zero trust is achievable.
It is achievable, but there's a bit of misconception about zero trust. So zero trust is not a technology. Zero trust is a mindset. It is a framework. So what does it entail? It entails that assume you don't trust anybody in your organization. So the how it started was, traditionally there used to be what we call the perimeter security, whereby you have your corporate network, it is secured, and anybody who has been authenticated, for example, using your username and your password, you can reign free in whatever part of the network you want to go. Of course, apart from maybe the server area or server farm or whatnot. So you are free. But because of what we call remote working and also the cloud apps, getting our workloads on cloud, the work as we know it, the office as we know it has really changed. So it's not within just the four walls of your office or within your network. People are accessing things remotely, with VPN. So your organization is expanding and does not necessarily adhere to the old traditional network. So that is why, because of that rapid, especially after COVID, let me say that, people started believing in working from home. So because of that, now organizations have expanded, people working from home, remotely, whatnot. So you can't really control who is accessing your network, who is accessing your devices, because people are accessing from anywhere and everywhere. So that is why now there was need to do what we call a zero trust, whereby you assume you have already been breached and you do not trust any device, any application, or any user. They need to verify at every point. So under zero trust, there are usually three key principles. Number one is never trust, always verify. So that's number one. Never trust, always verify. How do you do that? There are three key things. Identification, authorization, and authentication. So identification is basically when I come into any network or any office, I'll have to show my ID. So it can be a fake ID, but I have to show an ID. Then that's where now the authentication comes into play. I need to verify that this is Cynthia. It is not somebody else. It's not Joanne. It's not Stacy. This is Cynthia. So that is what we call authentication. Then there's what we call authorization. Fine, this is Cynthia, but are you authorized to access this particular resource? Are you authorized to be in this part of the building? Because even in here, there are buildings whereby you're not authorized to go. They usually say staff only or IT people only or something like that. So those are some of the key three principles in never trust, but always identify. Then after that, we go to what we call least privilege, whereby you have done all that. Now in the network, you have been verified, but I will only give you the roles or the privileges that are just enough to do your job. Nothing more, nothing less. Why is this important? Because in any organization, there's a problem called privilege creep, whereby I will start in as an intern, I will graduate to become a permanent employee, I will grow the ranks and become an assistant manager, become a manager, then rise through the ranks. But unfortunately, my access since the time I was an intern have never been revoked. So it will creep on. I will have, by the end of like 5-10 years, I'm able to start a process, I'm able to complete a process without any checks and balances. And that is very, very dangerous in any organization. Okay, so least privilege. There's also something under least privilege called just-in-time access, whereby I will give you access for the time that you need it, not more than that. Then the third and last principle under zero trust is what we call assume a breach. Assume a breach has always happened. Assume shagongo.
So you have to take care of yourself.
You have to take care of yourselves.
You've given us practical steps on how we can protect ourselves, or rather how zero trust can actually be achieved. But we are here. When you started, you explained to us what cybersecurity is all about, and you gave us a practical example. You are a guard somewhere. Yes. You assume someone is coming in, and how do you make sure that whoever is coming in needs to access the premise? Yeah. But remember, you are here talking to people who are not very conversant with this information. Do you think this zero trust is still achievable?
It is achievable. Let me go again to that example, the watchman. So any estate, any office block, you'll have to meet a watchman at the gate.
True.
When you're driving in, they'll have to do a search.
Yes.
Okay. Then when you get to the reception or to the guard office, you have to say where you're going and who you are. So that is a form of not trusting. It's not that, I'm here to see who and who. I'm here to see Cynthia. Go in. They have to ask me, who are you here? Who are you here to see? What is your identification? And then they'll confirm with you. Are you expecting so and so? So that is, in essence, even in Nairobi, you are practicing zero trust.
You see, when you use that example, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Because entering premises, it's something that happens on a normal basis.
Yeah.
But if we are coming to the tech aspect of it, and now how someone can be attacked, and you're telling someone that if you receive an email, you don't really have to click it. You have to check on that email. Is it a real email that you need? Is it a good SMS? But people just click on anything because they're not very conversant on this cyber attack things. And you're telling me that this zero trust is still achievable. It
is achievable. For us who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s in Nairobi, assume everybody's a thug.
Yeah.
So there are people my age, even to this date, they will not answer their phones when they're in Nairobi CBD because they assume everybody is a pickpocket.
Yes.
Zero trust. Even when they're in a matatu, there are people who cannot sit next to the window because back in the day, people used to open the window and then snatch.
Yes.
Enough cases happen. So the people will never sit next to the window. The people will never answer their phones in matatus because of zero trust. So it is achievable.
In Kenyan context, do you think we can reach there?
We will reach there. It will require a lot of cybersecurity awareness and a lot of what we call cybersecurity evangelism. Like this show. I mean, we are here telling people about zero trust, making sure that it is drilled to every individual. And I'll give you a reason why it is achievable. you remember before M-Pesa, it was almost unheard of for you to send money over the mobile phone.
Yeah.
How was that possible? How do you even receive money? Physical, we were used to physical money. But then comes M-Pesa. I mean, it transformed how business is done, not only in Kenya, but Africa. Kenya became a global hub of innovation. And now even somebody who's not going to school can actually use M-Pesa. And they can verify. So it is achievable. It just needs a lot of evangelism and awareness.
Why is phishing still so successful?
It is successful because as human beings, we have an inherent, an inbuilt mechanism to naturally want to trust. Naturally, we are good people. We want to help. That's how we were created. So attackers or hackers, malicious people, prey on that natural instinct to want to help. And unfortunately, at times, and many times actually, they do get lucky and they do get successful. So that is why it is very successful. Another thing why it is successful is because of nowadays they're using what we call AI-powered attacks, whereby I will, if I want to come up with a phishing email, I will, if I want to target, for example, CIO, or Cynthia, I will study about the organization. I will go to any AI generative AI model. I'll feed it this information, create a profile on Cynthia. What does she like? What does she want? You know, what is her social media pages all about? You know, get to create a portfolio, a database. You know, I'll basically map you out. Then I'll come up with a convincing email that is specifically targeted for you or targeted towards an individual.
Yeah.
So that is why it is successful nowadays, because people, the hackers actually put in the effort more than at times the defenders.
We're going to get back to the topic on artificial intelligence later on the show. I want to understand, how did you find yourself in this field of cybersecurity?
So when I finished high school, I actually wanted to do the arts. I wanted to be a journalist like you. I wanted to be in media because I was very artistic. I used to do plays, shows here and there. But something just didn't quite feel quite right. So my dad came to me and told me, hey, boss, you can't stay in the house forever, man. You need to do something. So he actually looked for a course. He told me there's a new course. It's called Business and IT. Go try it out. I was like, fine. So I went, did it. The business part didn't really appeal to me, but the IT part appealed to me. And I mean, that's where I started, just creating interest. And when I started working, I discovered this whole new world of cybersecurity, and I was interested in it. So that's why I began now concentrating on it. And yeah, here I am today.
Do you have like a specific thing that captured your interest in cybersecurity? Because IT is big, you can become anything in the IT field, but you decided to just venture on the cybersecurity aspect of it. I
think it's the mystique surrounding cybersecurity. The dark web, back in the day, it was a dark web. You have to access it through Tor. You know, this browser, it's a layered browser. That, you know, that mystique. You see movies, somebody typing in quite fast and say, I'm in. With a click of a button, the entire city shut down. So, I mean, I would say also movies played a role in like piquing that interest and like, how does it really work? I would say naturally I'm inquisitive, so I don't want to know, does it really work as easy as they portray it in the movies? And lo and behold, it does not work as easy as they portray.
In the movies, they just show us.
You hack a whole system within two seconds, type into it. That's nothing. It takes prior work to actually get into any system. Yeah.
So back to our conversation. Are we really serious about security?
We are getting there. Organizations nowadays realize the importance of cybersecurity. The challenge is now the purchasing power, and also the in terms of, I know I need to do this, but I don't know how I need to do this. Actually, I think a research was done last year, and topmost of all business leaders, CEOs, CFOs, was cybersecurity, because they realize that it impacts their bottom line, it impacts their profits, it impacts their organizations, how they operate. So cybersecurity was one of their key agendas for this year, 2025. So we are getting there.
We are getting there.
Yeah.
It's nice that you've actually mentioned organizations. We have organizations that have decided to focus entirely on the tech side. We have organizations that focus on other things, food, maybe making products and whatnot. Do you think like those organizations are still adapting are they protecting themselves from the cyber attack breaches?
They are protecting themselves. What varies is the level of protection, because there's basic level protection, now there's middle level protection, and now there's advanced. Now for your maybe industrial companies whereby they do a lot of automation, they have to be at the top. So I would say all companies, all organizations are different levels in different spheres, in different fields. They have awareness of protection and they're protecting themselves. What matters is the degree to which they're protecting themselves. Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone from artificial intelligence field, and they told me that they try to tell organizations to try and have at least an AI expert in the organizations, and people still feel like, why should I pay for something that is not yet there? So when we come to cyber attacks, people have to pay to get organizations like your organizations to help protect them from cyber breaches and whatnot. But are people paying for this? Are people preparing themselves enough for these attacks?
Just like I said, they are preparing themselves, but the degree to which they prepare. I have a Ugandan wife, so I almost said banange. What varies is how they prepare themselves, the level of preparedness. Because, like I said, there are different what we call maturity levels. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, up until 5. So 1 would be you have some sort of defined way of doing your things. You have maybe the basic protection, endpoint protection. Maybe you have a perimeter firewall. Level 2 would be whereby you have a sort of a system on how you maybe respond to risks, you respond to threats, you respond to attacks. Now, level 3 would be now you have a consistent way. So you have a system, but now in level 3, you have a consistent way of responding to these things, and so on and so forth. So level 5 would be now you have a fully fledged SOC. SOC is a security operations center, whereby people are busy doing what we call continuous monitoring and analysis about your network. So it depends with the level of preparedness and the level of investment. But majority of the guys, thankfully, at least they are at the basic level. They'll say, okay, fine, at least I need endpoint protection, not antivirus, endpoint protection.
But it's not very safe.
It's safe, but there needs to be more. So you remember you asked me about zero trust model.
Yes.
So zero trust is not a technology, it's a mindset, as I said, and it involves different spheres of protection. So you need your endpoint protection to do some of these things of endpoint protecting your endpoint to one level of trust. Then you have another layer, for example, what we call the IAM, that is Identity Access Management System. Then you have maybe, for example, your PAM, that is a Privilege Access Management. Now to give the different levels of access to your system. Now you have your firewall to do some of the maybe again traditional perimeter protection. So when you have these different layers, that's when you can achieve zero trust, but at least they have the very basic. Yeah.
Okay, so in our show, before we go for a break, we normally do some stuff. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Cynthia. Hit me.
Are you feeling hot?
Yes, I'm good.
It's nothing serious. So we normally debunk myths. In our line of conversation today, it's all about cybersecurity. Is there a specific myth that normally goes around cybersecurity that you'd love to debunk today?
I think I'll debunk 2. No, 3.
3, wow.
Are those too many?
It's fine, it's fine.
So number 1, there's this myth that people usually say, I'll know when I'm hacked. I'll know when I'm hacked. Now, I like to say this, that is a myth. Let me ask you, Cynthia, how long do you think it takes for any organization to realize they have been breached or attacked? How long do you think it takes?
After the attack has happened.
How long does any organization take to know they have been attacked? There's a malicious actor in their network. They've been breached.
I think it takes quite some time before they realize.
Like quantified?
I cannot.
No try. I'll guess. 2 months?
2 months. 1 month. 2 months.
Let me shock you.
Yeah.
It takes 9 months for an organization to actually realize that an attacker has entered their premise. So if an organization that invests a lot of money in cybersecurity take that long, what about the average everyday user? It will be very difficult for them to actually know that they've been hacked or they've been breached. But there are tools with which you can use to know that you've been breached. So that's number 1. It's not easy to detect if you've been hacked. It is possible, but it's not easy.
Yes.
Number 2, I'm coming for iPhone users. iPhone users believe that they can never be hacked because their phones are top tier. They are used in all the top movies, secure. That's a myth. There are people who are specifically engineering attacks specifically for iPhones. Myth number 3 is even if I'm hacked, it's not a big deal. I have 500 followers on IG. That's not a big deal. That is a lie. You have a lot of data. There was a saying back in the day that, not too back in the day, recently, that data is the new oil. And I would want to echo that. I mean, everybody who has an online presence is a valuable individual to any malicious attacker. I have kids who are in campus, who are in high school, whose IG accounts have been taken over. These are kids, for crying out loud. They don't have anything, like they're not businesses, but they have been hacked. So you're never too small to be attacked.
All right. Right about now, we are going to take a short, quick break. But when we come back, we will be continuing with our conversation for the day. And our topic for the conversation is zero trust in a hacked world. And joining me for this conversation is Allan Juma.
Behind every digital masterpiece are our developers, coding wizards who bring functionality to life. Whether it's apps, websites, or software solutions, our developers are the architects of a seamless digital experience. Our developers are industry experts with a proven track record in creating cutting-edge solutions. Whether it's web development, mobile apps, or innovative software, our talent pool excels in diverse technologies and programming languages. Developers also help in events that thrive on innovation, and our developers are at the forefront of the latest trends. Their ability to incorporate emerging technologies ensures that your event remains ahead of the curve, leaving a lasting impression on attendees.
Welcome back to the Morning Express Show. We are continuing with our conversation of the day. Our guest is with us, Allan Juma, cybersecurity engineer from ESET. And the topic for conversation today is zero trust in a hacked world. We are now getting back into the conversation about artificial intelligence. You had mentioned a little bit about it, and I said we'll be getting back into it. And we're going to be looking at artificial intelligence in two aspects: on the cybersecurity teams and now the cybersecurity criminals. Okay. On that aspect, let's start with the with people using AI for cyber crimes.
Okay, you mentioned the AI, and I remember there's an ad that is usually on YouTube, an annoying ad. I don't know if you've seen it. It's saying this is AI for people over 40. Have you seen that?
Yes, yes.
Watch as people get ahead. That ad really annoys me.
Why is that? You don't believe people in 40 years can start?
No, I think they're misrepresenting AI. I think it's just anyway. Ndo msikue suda tutongele yote. But yeah, so how do hackers use AI? Well, they use it just like us defenders do to automate their workloads. In this case, they're automating their attacks. A practical way would be what we call brute forcing attack. So brute force basically is whereby I will try different combinations of a username and a password against a certain account, hoping that I will get lucky and one of that combination will actually work. So you can only do it. So previously it used to be somebody sitting down trying it. Then it came to there are scripts that can actually do that. You have a database, a dump of usernames, a dump of passwords, and they try different combinations. Now, depending on the processing power of your machine. Now with AI, we are taking that to an even huge level, to an even more effective level, whereby the scope of my attack will be really, really enlarged and really increased just because of AI. Like I said, also hackers are also using AI to come up with bespoke phishing emails targeting specific individuals, and this will be very, very successful. They're also using AI to generate what we call deepfakes. I don't know that you remember, but sometime last year, Centum CEO James Moria, there was an ad on YouTube that was actually a deepfake. It was him telling people to register to a certain financial site that he had given his backing, and it was on YouTube, a sponsored ad on YouTube. Wow. And I can tell you, many people clicked on that link. The moment I saw it, I was like, "Come on, guys, who can fall for this?" But
let's be realistic here. I know when hackers are trying to attack people, they normally use the way they frame like their emails. Like there's a way, if you're not very keen, you'll just believe like, hey, this is someone from ESET, they've sent me an email, and you just click on it. How best can we protect ourselves from that, or how best can we be ahead of that?
Zero trust. But no, seriously, I mean, the best way to defend is, number one, create a culture of awareness. Create a culture of awareness. There's a saying that most people in IT and cybersecurity usually say that your users are your weakest link. But I disagree with that. My personal opinion is that an empowered user is your greatest link. It is an empowered user is one of your greatest defender, because if we receive a phishing email in any organization, let's say CIO or whichever organization, receive a phishing email sent to 50 employees.
Yeah.
If your 50 employees are empowered, there are chances are high that thing will spread. But if your users are not empowered, it will wreak havoc. So when you have a user who's actually able to look out for this, and how do they look out for this? Always been a skeptic. And I know it's really difficult, because an attacker will actually try to convince you to the best of their abilities. And phishing can be equated to what we call conmen, the committee phone calls and whatnot. You see, they try to be as convincing as possible, but once you are always a skeptic, you will actually be able to poke holes in this particular argument on this particular email that has been sent to you.
What do you, like, for example, like right now, if you're to receive an information or from online, maybe TikTok, YouTube, and then the news, let's specify the news, and maybe now the stations that do news like Citizen, KTN and whatnot, will you believe the online versus the traditional media?
I think online information, social media, I'll take it with a pinch of salt, because of what we call disinformation, misinformation. And so, I would personally, social media, take it with a pinch of salt. Anything that has been said there, any fact that has been sent there, it's good to be informed, but to verify, maybe you go to traditional media. But that is my mantra. That is me, what I do, because social media, there are so many lies. Oh my goodness.
I'm on to you on that part, because you've given us an example of what happened on that YouTube ad sponsored. It was a sponsored video. I mean, what made you a bit skeptical about it?
The tone of voice, also the facial features, the stiffness. AI can be good, but it can't really be perfect. You can't mimic Cynthia. Nobody can ever mimic your likeness. They can kind of imitate, but mimicking to perfection, it's very difficult. So some of those cues whereby you just, again, because I'm in this field, I'm always generally a skeptic. I was able to pick out some of these cues, but to any common everyday user, it's can be a bit difficult.
Yeah, you don't blame them.
Yeah.
Let's get to how you guys now use artificial intelligence too.
So we use AI in terms of automating our workloads, just like the hackers do. We automate our workloads. How do we do that? By scanning. So there's what we call continuous monitoring. So you continuously monitor your network through alerts. If there's one huge thing in cybersecurity that weighs people down, is what we call alert fatigue. What do I mean by alert fatigue? Whereby you have so many sensors, you have so many gadgets, so many tools that give you alerts of potential breaches or breaches that are actually in progress, and you can get overwhelmed with over 1,000. So tools like SIEM, tools like SOAR, firewall, your file integrity management, endpoint security, your MDR, EDRs, whatnot. There's a lot of logs that they can generate and alerts. But now, when you can use AI to actually help you filter through what you call the false positives, these are things that are not attacks. It's just maybe something has been spoofed or something has been misconfigured or something like that. So AI will help us now in that continuous monitoring. AI will also help us in what we call response. So it can actually help us to respond to some of these attacks by giving us tips, tools, or techniques. No, this is the alert. This is what it means. This is how you can respond. Do you want me to go ahead and actually respond to it? So there's what we call automated response. So AI can help us in automatically responding to some of these threats. And anything that requires maybe human intervention, then it can be escalated to us. So that is some of the ways we use AI.
Do you counter check? Because artificial intelligence might give you false information.
It's always good. It's always good to counter check, but realistically, I can't counter check everything. I can only pick a sample and see, maybe, for example, such and such a threat. Let me have a look at it. Or there's a way you can configure your system and say anything that is above certain threshold, then there needs to be a human eye looking at it. But you see, if an organization only has one cybersecurity engineer or one cybersecurity professional, it's difficult for them to actually counter check. So they rely heavily on AI. But for big organization enterprises, that's why they have what you call a SOC, Security Operations Center, where actually human beings can counter check some of these alerts. So the best play would be AI humans helped by AI, whereby AI will do the response, but now for verification, the human aspect is very, very important.
So the humans have to be there at all time.
not all time, but majority of the time. Why am I saying that? Because research has shown that majority of attacks usually happen over the weekend, mainly after working hours. So 5 going onwards throughout the weekend, that's when majority of the attacks happen. So AI can take over, whereby such alerts, such systems are actually monitoring and sending alerts to a human being, so that now you can respond to them and see, this is worth my response, this is not worth my response. So the combination of the two will be very good.
That one has actually raised a curious question from me. At what time do you sleep? Do you ever sleep?
Yeah, we sleep. You sleep. You know, we were chatting and you told me that one of your hobbies is sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah, we sleep. But I mean, because I've worked in organizations whereby I was the only IT security guy, and you're managing countries.
Yes.
So how do you even have quality of life? You have to constantly be on your feet. But yeah, we do sleep, and soundly at that.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're the first person from the cybersecurity side.
You have to separate your work life from your personal life. Otherwise, if one creeps into the other, especially if work creeps into your personal life, you'll be a wreck. Actually, people are saying people in IT, especially in Europe and US, they are suffering fatigue, like mental, emotional fatigue, because there's underinvestment and there are so many alerts. So you find people are stretched to the maximum, and that's because they're allowing their work life to creep into their personal life. And I don't like doing that.
All right.
Yeah.
So beyond artificial intelligence, what other emerging threats should we keep eyes on when it comes to matters cybersecurity?
There's IoT, Internet of Things.
Yes.
Nowadays, even your toaster will go online and give you the recommended amount of time you should toast your bread. Your fridge will go online. Yeah, your cooker will give you recipes and cook food for you. So there's Internet of Things. What is Internet of Things? Basically, things connected to the internet. Again, in a layman's term. So there's a huge drive, especially for smart homes, for smart cities, whereby things are interconnected and connect to the internet. However, one thing that anybody who's going into the smart field or IoTs needs to do is to make sure that they embed security. They need to do what we call bake security in the development. So you're developing with a mindset of security. It should not come at the very end. It should be part and parcel of your initial project engagement. Security needs to be there, especially now in health sectors, because there's a smart health, telehealth. There needs to be a focus on security, and also smart agriculture. There's also smart agriculture in Kenya. So all these things. That's a new trend in Africa and Kenya. Smart health, smart agriculture, smart cities, smart homes, all that. Yeah.
So Internet of Things we should be keeping an eye on it when it comes to matters cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's actually here with us.
We've been talking about problems revolving around cybersecurity, and of course, in between our conversations, you've given us ways on how we can protect ourselves against these cyber attacks. But right now, because I want it to stick into the minds of our listeners, take us through practical steps for now people who are in the tech side on how they can protect themselves against cyber attacks. For somebody who's in tech, I would say, I'm assuming that you have a healthy password policy, working password policy. It's always good to have the basic. And what is a healthy password? I'll give you the realistic version. Yeah. Again, there's something called password fatigue, whereby there's a lot of fatigue in IT security. Password fatigue is whereby you have 100 accounts and all of them require a unique password, whereby you have to have the blood of a virgin, you have to have the feather of a black crow, you have to have a cow's foot. I'm joking, by the way. Basically, what are these? You need to have all these specifications so that you can have a secure password. But a secure password would be what you call a passphrase. It's not a word that you can actually. It's not a word in the dictionary. Needs to have a combination of a letter and a special character, and does not need to be something that is attached to you, related to you. So that's a passphrase. Yeah. It needs to be unique as well. It needs to be changed often. It needs to be used on only one account, because one thing that we see a lot is that people use the same password on so many accounts. So for the techies, I know you have 1,001 accounts on GitHub, on whatnot. Please try and separate them. How they can do that is they can use password managers, whereby you just have one secure password and you can put all these other passwords in one secure vault. Have you watched Lord of the Rings? No. Okay, so I should go watch it. You should go to watch it. So in Lord of the Rings, there's something called the ring. So one ring to rule them all. So you have one password manager to rule all, to cater for all your passwords. Another thing would be for techies, would be to leverage the use of technology.
automate your workloads, automate your threat hunting process, automate your threat identification process. It can really, really, really help. And number 3 is you need to have what we call a cybersecurity model or cybersecurity policy. I mean, it really helps. Such things are like, for example, ISO 27001 frameworks. ISO 27001, NIST, or COBIT. This will really help you actually plan out your cybersecurity journey, because you can know what to do, but you don't really have a roadmap. That is really important in any for any individual who's doing IT security or IT. It will give you a roadmap from where you can start to the level of now maturity. Now, for the layman or for the lay people are not techies.
Yeah.
I would say passwords. Please do not use one password. Why am I saying this? It's like you are in your house and you have different doors. You have your front door. In Kenya, we have the grill door. Then you have your wooden door. Yeah. Then you have your connecting door, your bedroom door, kitchen door, whatnot. It's like having one key for all these doors. And that's what you do when you have one password for all your accounts. And in this day and age of several cyber attacks, when an attacker gets hold of your password or a username, they will definitely try it on another user or on another account, whereby most likely you have a presence. So ensure you have secure passwords. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, please ensure you have a password manager that can help you in that aspect. Number 2 would be to get what we call multi-factor authentication. Very, very important. Why is it important? Because especially for people on social media, you might get tricked into giving your credential to somebody via phishing, as we explored. What multi-factor will do, it will alleviate or it will prevent that attack from actually following through, because they may have your password, but they will not be able to log in because there's a code or a second level of authentication that is required. And by the mercies of God, let not that second authentication be a code being sent to your password. Let it be sent to your mobile device or have an authenticator app. Number 3 is always be a skeptic. Always be a skeptic. Yeah, it will really help.
I've even had an experience where someone has just texted me an SMS. Can you send me that code that has come to your phone? And I was like, how do I send you a code from my phone? Like, what is its purpose?
Yeah.
But and what advice do you have to us on having all our passwords on a device?
What do you mean on device? Like on your...
Like when you're opening maybe an app, and then you put a password, and then they ask you, should I save this password?
Oh, your browsers, your password manager on your browsers.
Yes.
There's a lot of debate about that. Because of there's what you call session hijacking, cookies, whatnot, so many jargon, IT jargon. My personal opinion would be, I also save my passwords on my browser. I'll be very honest with you. However, I ensure that my Gmail password is super secure. My account is super secure in that I don't... Google now is trying to push people to use what you call passkeys. So no password. They're trying to go passwordless. So I have adopted that, whereby there's no password actually attached. So once my Gmail account, whatever account is being used on that particular browser, is super secure, then you can save your passwords. But if your Gmail password is weak and you don't have multi-factor authentication, it's a matter of time that you will lose all your accounts. Yeah, so that would be my take on that.
Thank you so much, Allan, for making time to be here today. Any last words, parting short advice you want to give people? You can actually face that camera and give us that last word.
It's over too soon, Cynthia. I feel like we've just started. I demand to come back. Haki yangu.
I'll look into that. I hope the producer, director, they're hearing all this.
I'm gonna jaribu kuuza sera zangu. No. Of course, I'm kidding. So, cybersecurity is very, very important. If you're out there, if you're an individual, ensure that you have a secure password, ensure that you have multi-factor authentication, and always be a skeptic. For any organization that may be watching, please, if you're a decision maker, invest in your cybersecurity. If you're a cybersecurity professional, you might be feeling overwhelmed. You're not alone, brother. You're not alone, sister. There's a whole community. Get online. We can assist each other to secure your organizations. You're doing a good job. Let nobody tell you that you're not doing a good job. You're doing an amazing job.
Wow. Thank you so much, Allan. We'll definitely have you back here next time. To our listeners, thank you so much for staying with us till the end of this session today. Our conversation for the day was all about zero trust in a hacked world. And Allan told us that zero trust is achievable. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Tune in to No Hits Radio, where we're not just following trends, we're setting them.